to the F-14 Tomcat radio show.
Tomcat, throw the ball.
Come on, Tomcat, ball 6-0.
Roger ball.
Hello and welcome to the F-14 Tomcat Show, straight out of Grumman, Calverton, where all 712 F-14 Tomcats were built. I'm your host. My name is Lorenzo. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm joined by my co-host, and that's CJ from Tomcat Hunter over on IG.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
We got some great content tonight here, guys. We got a little bonus episode material here from episode 3 with Mike Peterson, call sign Tung. Mike's going to take us through GWOT and the opening night of the war there. Cool stuff he did with Shorn, his pilot.
And we're also going to touch upon a story from Tung when he was talking about Rick Riley from Sports Illustrated, talking about his fam ride going up with Chip King, Biff, and how Biff wrung him out in that back seat and gave him one hell of a ride.
Yeah, that's amazing. And also, Tung mentions about being an ace, air to ground. He destroyed 5 airplanes with the Lantern Pod, and he's claiming ace on this.
Hey, Lorenzo, you had one more question for him about something with the mountain, right?
Oh, yes. Actually, we had a follower that asked about this. It was the opening night of Afghanistan, I believe.
Afghanistan,
right?
Yes.
213, opening night, GWOT. You guys dropped JDAM, I believe.
I had GBU
20
on my aircraft,
okay.
2,000-pound laser-guided bomb. If I can, this story actually starts years earlier. So a guy that was a writer for the inside of the back cover for Sports Illustrated, Rick Riley, he comes out the fighter wing and they're like, hey, somebody needs to give this guy a ride. So he winds up in 213, and the XO at the time, Biff King, Chip King, puts him in the back seat, right? And, you know, usually you'd be nice to a guy, but not Biff. He goes up there, 6 G's this way, 6 G's that way, unload. This poor guy's throwing up all over the place. And does he let him off? Oh, no. He just puts him through the ringer. And he wrote this epic story. You can probably still look it up today about, I threw up my breakfast, I threw up my lunch, I threw up my Twinkies from 8th grade.
Right.
They had him sitting on the floor of the PR shop just drinking water, trying to get color back in his face. But he wrote this great Sports Illustrated article, and he actually kept in touch with Biff, right? They became friends. So fast forward, global war on terror, 9/11 goes down. We're going to be the first guys to go, and we're going to go send a package, and I'm actually going to be in the wing aircraft. Biff King's going to be in the lead. He's got a guy in his back seat, Paul Groner. Shorn Sakamondo, who goes on to be at Blue Angels, in my front seat, and I'm in his back seat, and we're in the wing aircraft. And our package is going to be 2 Tomcats. We've got the Great White Buffalo on the wing, because why not? I'd love to get that Phoenix kill. So we got a Phoenix. We got some Sidewinders just in case somebody comes up at night. I've got 2 GBU-10s. Why? Because there is one non-operational SA-3 in the entire country. It's about to be targeted by like 5 Tomahawk missiles. And just to double dare make sure, I'm going to go drop a GBU-10 on it, right? Mm-hmm. Just to make sure it's completely dead. So we're going to be out in front of 2 B-1s that are way behind us, about 20 miles in trail. So we're the escort just in case something comes up. There's also supposed to be 2 Hornets in our package shooting SLAM ER, 1 shooting, 1 guiding, and there's supposed to be a Prowler. We get up now the first night of the war, early on in the war, no big assets came into country, meaning no AWACS, no tankers. It was just the tactical stuff. Everybody else stayed over Pakistan. So we're jammed in this lane as far northeast as we're allowed to go in Pakistan on a tanker track to get our gas. We show up on the KC-135, affectionately known as the Iron Maiden, and right there on goggles, I go, oh, crap, because this guy is just streaming gas from the knuckle. I mean, it's just pouring out of the knuckle. He's got a leak. So we go in to get our offload, and the guy says, offload complete. And we've got like 60% of it. We're like, no, top us off, top our wingman off. We're canceling the 2 Hornets. We're canceling the Prowler. We're just going to send the 2 Tomcats. You guys are done, and we're going to sweep out in front of the B-1s. So off we go into country, flying up there, and everything was great until about, and by the way, we wind up out flying the link. The link goes down because the AWACS is too far away. And the only people we can talk to at a certain point are the guys in our package. We talk to the B-1s, we can talk to ourselves, but we can't talk to any command and control assets. And last thing we told the tanker was, are you going to be here? Because he was supposed to be our backside. He goes, no, I got to go back. Don't worry. We'll hook you up. Somebody will be here. So we go up, watch the Tomahawks hit on night vision goggles because you can see stuff, way off.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Flashes of light, at which point the entire hornet's nest opens up. I mean, it looked like the 4th of July. AAA, low caliber, medium caliber. I mean, it erupts in a sea of green tracers up there. And we had put a nice little mod in the lantern system, 40K laser.
Yeah.
So before, you had to be kind of low. And by the way, Afghanistan sits up pretty high at Kabul, and then the mountains all around it had AAA guns in them, right? So we're up at 32,000 feet, thank God, MSL dropping GBU-10s. And every once in a while, out of the sea of green tracers would be the big caliber, the sizzle, 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 boom guys up at our altitude. But that was about it. Real low rate of fire. So we
they weren't really tracking you.
Yeah, they weren't tracking us. So we turned the corner, drop our GBUs, boom, boom, bounce the rubble on the SA-3, cut the corner, come back. The B-1s are doing its target stuff. Okay, great. They're off target. And we're flying back down to our tanker track. And as soon as I can get radio comms, I'm like, hey, where's our new tanker? And the guy's like, it's Shamu, whatever, on the Cardinals track. And I pull out the map and I'm looking at the map. I'm like, holy crap. That's down South Central. That is nowhere near where the old track is. I go, we're not going to make it.
That is not hooking you up as he said he was going to do.
No. So we immediately go, bingo profile in country, first night of the war, climbing on up to 40 something. I'm still saying, can you get us anybody closer? Can you get, and he's like, no. And I'm like, and I'm doing the math and I'm like, well, it's not a descent to sea level. This guy's flying at about 25,000 feet and I'm doing the math and I'm going, we're still not going to make it. So as soon as I can get the tanker on the horn, I get him on in J-tits. I'm like, look, man, you got 2 Tomcats coming at you. We were flexed from another track. We are going to be absolutely super low on fumes and we're not even sure if we make it to the track. And he goes, I'll come get you. And this guy flies about 100 miles, about 75 miles into country, dragging his whole bunch of receivers, which he was not supposed to do. And he said, call my turn. And we had him on the radar and we had him turn right out in front of us. Idle descent. He clears everybody out. I mean, like idle descent into the basket. And on the basket, the first night, both low fuel lights on, 800 pounds showing on the totalizer. We get about 1,000 pounds, pull out, the lead gets in. He's, same condition. He gets a little gas. We get back in and get some more. But, honestly, that Air Force guy, absolutely, that's the closest I ever came to ejecting out of the aircraft was a low fuel situation first night of OEF. It was great. By the way, I'm an ace. I didn't think you guys saw that on my resume.
I
have killed way over 5 aircraft, right? I mean, I think that's the standard still. Kill 5 aircraft, you become an ace. Now, all of mine were sitting on the runway, sitting on, in revetments, sitting out by the hangar. And every one of those kills is a GBU 12 kill. But I'd like to put that out that I'm also an ace.
There you go.
Hey, I just want to jump in.
Don't they have to be manned when you're hitting them? I don't know. Maybe not.
No. That's okay. Still counts.
I just want to jump in.
A mission kill, I'm very fond of saying a mission kill is a mission kill. Doesn't matter where it happens.
Kill's a good kill, right?
Hey, I just want to jump in here real fast. I found that thing you're talking about with Sports Illustrated, and I just pulled up like the first paragraph I saw, and I'm cracking up here. The guy's going to be Rick Riley from Sports Illustrated, and he's talking to Biff, and just real fast, he asked him, he goes, hey, what should I eat before going up? So Biff says bananas. He goes, for potassium? He goes, no, because they taste about the same coming up as they do going down.
Yeah, and that was absolutely true. That was a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the way this all wraps up is Biff actually gets on email with Rick after the first night. He actually winds up writing a follow-up story in the back of Sports Illustrated about the first night. But the beauty is, Biff being Biff, I mean, he was a pilot's egotist, right? Biff liked himself some Biff. I mean, he'd wake up in the morning and be like, hey there, handsome. And,
sure is good to be Biff.
Great story about there I was single-handedly, although I had a wingman and I had Groner in the back seat, and told this great yarn about, there I was and the seas parted and it was the first night of the war and stuff. And Groner and I read that. We're like, oh, you jackasses. In fact, we dropped the first bomb because we were so high, and you can appreciate this in Lantern. By the time you find the target, designate, and you've got the countdown of how many seconds to drop, they were past the release point because we were flying up so high.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, so Biff lights up the burners because you kind of had to at that altitude and spins a 360 to come back around and drop. At which point I said to Sean, I go, dude, do not turn around, because anything that wasn't aimed was instantly aimed when you light up 2 burners up there. And I'm like, dude, we'll cut the corner and he'll catch it. He'll cut the corner and he'll catch us, right? Do not, hey, be a good wingman, but don't turn around, So they cut the corner. We caught him on the way out.
That is great. That is cool. Brian, Ken, I'm just curious. Are you guys like excited you didn't have to fix these guys' aircraft?
Yeah, sounds like they were putting it through the ringer.
A lot, long flights, a lot of hours, and yeah, they had the airframe working when they were out there. And for a maintainer's point of view, an 8-9 hour flight is what 2-3 flights on a regular situation.
Oh, that's upwards of 4 or 5 on a normal day.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. They didn't get a lot of looks at it, right? And because it was such a strategic asset to get those Tomcats back out there, especially because of the lantern capability and buddy lays. And I mean, we were really under high pressure to get them, keep them flying. I think one of the best things we did, and we did this in VF2, and I send Siphon in one of these pictures, is we painted for not every bomb drop, but every bombing mission we went on where we actually dropped, we started stenciling the jets. And it got to the point, man, some of these jets are like, hey, we got to go to the other side, because this thing
it's just wrapping around the underside. Keep going.
We had so many bombs, and we would either paint a laser guided bomb or a dumb bomb. We got to the point where we were starting to smoke through the laser guided bombs. So we'd start carrying 2 and 2, which, by the way, was the world's best convoy loadout. You'd come upon these convoys in these steep mountain passes in Afghanistan. And what'd you do? Drop the laser guided bomb on the first one, drop the laser guided bomb on the last one. You got a nice bottled up group of guys. The doors are flying open. They're all running into the hills.
A captive audience, so to speak.
And then we'd mop it up with dumb bombs, which were still damn accurate in the D.
Or put the pipper on the pipper.
We call it a B-52 friend, which, by the way, is spectacular to watch when they just come down and carpet bomb a line of targets. I will say, just talking about that, there was a deficiency in the D when it came to dumb bombs. And it's that it would use the GPS altitude as a primary source. And that GPS antenna was right up behind the canopy, right up on top of that turtle back up there. And when you did a big roll in with the jet, you would mask that GPS antenna. And for a couple seconds, you kind of lose your solution in the whip, the weapon's impact point where you're aiming would do this jumpy thing. Yeah. So I was out there one day.
You had to wait for that to settle down a second. You knew if you'd pulled your pole nicely and did your nice even rollout, you was going to come out, but.
Yeah, but you had to give it a couple potatoes, and then it would settle down and track. Or you could just go, you know what? The other stuff's pretty good source. I'll just turn the GPS off and I'll go with the backup. So one day we're doing the convoy thing, LGB. I did my part. Now it's time for Mr. Pilot to go get his dumb bombs in there, and big roll in. Well, it masked the GPS antenna, and the whip's jumping, and he pickles and heinously misses, like way out, off in the desert. And of course, being a good Rio, I start giving him shit. I'm like, nice shot, Sherlock. Nice shot there, gunslinger. And
in the calming Rio voice. Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
Which, by the way, is don't poke the pilot, because what he does is on the last bomb, he's going to make sure this one's good. So he rolls in and we're in the chute, and I'm like, dude, you need to pickle. Dude, you need to pickle. Hey, pickle and pull, because we were going down the chute. He finally pickles and he pulls off, and, looked over the shoulder, and there's a handheld tracking on us. And you can tell, because when they're not tracking, they look like bottle rockets. They kind of corkscrew. If you ever had a Smoky Sam, a simulator shot at you, that's what they look like. They just kind of and you go, whatever, not going to get there. But this one is pulling lead, and it's tracking, and it's going real smooth. And you're like, just go. And, as soon as you put out the flares, it does the turn behind you. And of course we get up. I'm like, hey, did you see that? See that handheld? He's like, oh yeah, I saw it. I put out flares. I'm like, yeah, me too. I look at the flare count. I'm like, oh yeah, we put out a shit. And, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He goes, well, you were giving me shit on the last one. The whip was jumping. I'm like, but the nice thing, another thing you guys didn't know that was a real good upgrade to the Tomcat at the end, or for the folks listening, a thing called FTI, Fast Tactical Imagery. We could take our tape and we could rewind our mission tape in the jet and look at it. We could even capture still frames or things like that. which we always did on bombing stuff. I'd hit a little capture and we're just going to go and, capture a bunch of pictures. So I was able to go tell how low we actually were on that pull, right?
Uh-huh.
And let's just say it was quite below the hard deck, which is why we were about to get tatered with a handheld because we had no business being down there.
The Z diagram's there for a reason, right?
There's a reason that you pickled a certain altitude, and I'll tell you what, Afghanistan. Really, I mean, when we went low, and we had to do that to strafe and stuff sometimes, in a close air support, but really there was not a threat to us out there. I mean, it was all handhelds. As long as when you went low, you put out your flares. There really wasn't a lot of danger to us flying around there. Iraq was a completely different gig. Super mez, other stuff being shot at us all the time. A little bit different. In fact, the place that I was probably in the most threat was when I was flying over in Kosovo because we had SA-6s and other stuff shooting at us over there in the A, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't have a self-protect jammer that I could have just turned on and cheesed those guys with. But, to be honest, we talk a lot about the air-to-ground mission and, we were doing it for the guys on the ground because, let's face it, we really weren't exposed. We really weren't in a lot of danger down there, and those guys were. So that's why we had to stick our nose in and get dirty every once in a while.
And we thank you.
Yeah, honestly, it was really gratifying. Every time we talked to the guys on the ground, I'm sure you said the same thing, but every time we talked to the guys on the ground, and we could hear it in their voices when they just we'd be on the radio with them about 10 minutes, and their voice got calmer and calmer and calmer as we're like, big brothers upstairs, we're here to help.
And you had to talk them down a lot because they were super juiced.
Yeah.
And like I said, you had to be like, slow down. Okay. Give me your coordinates. Okay. Where are you? Okay. Where is the threat from you? Right. And because you had to do that confirmation and you're right. Just talking to them, they'd come down, they'd start giving you what you needed to get it done. I met a guy that I did a close air support mission for one day. There was
that'd be cool.
There was a thing over in Iraq, right next to a mosque. A bunch of guys were getting shot up with RPGs and heavy machine gun fire, just trying to break contact. So much so, they were inside danger close. I couldn't have dropped an LGB, but I grabbed two A-10s and we went down and we just said, look, man, Tomcat joining on your right side. I'm your FAC. Watch where I go. Stay up here. And we went down low and just dropped flares, visible flares, the MJU-8s, so he could see. Right over the line of buildings we go. That's where all the fire's coming from. You got the Marines just out to the east. That's your target. And I've got some great footage I can show you guys. A-10's just coming down and walking the rudders on 30 millimeter so those guys could pull around the corner. And as soon as they were around the corner of that wall on that mosque, we went and just gutted each building with LGBs. And when we were done, we brought in some GR4s, some Brits, which had enhanced paveway through, kind of a combination laser guided bomb JDAM. And so I just gave him the coordinates because we could do that with Lantern as well. We got some pretty cool software.
Self-mensurated coordinates,
to generate. And so that guy just pitched it on the coordinates and we laced it in for him. And we took out a whole row. And this thing got written up in a book by a guy named Tony Holmes, big aviation buff, writes a lot of aircraft books. And he put this story in the book. And he calls me about a year and a half after he wrote this. He goes, hey, Tung, I got a guy that read my book that was on the ground during that mission that you talked about.
Nice.
And he wants to get in contact with you. Is that cool? And I'm like, absolutely. And I was able to hook up with him and talk with him. And when you actually get to talk to a guy on the ground that you work with, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. I'm thinking this is the real reason we do it. And that's why it's so edifying to get the feedback from them directly, right? Yeah.
And it's cliched, but they talk about guys being over there doing whatever they did in whatever capacity they did, and everybody knows this to be true. But I'm saying it kind of for the audience. It's the they do it for me mindset, right? You just happen to be in the cool, And by the way, I didn't say this at the beginning. I should have. I should have told you what FAC-A stands for. I tell this joke when I was briefing up the Marines in Kuwait. I said, hey, you guys know what FAC-A stands for? They're like, yeah, Forward Air Controller Airborne. I go, hell no. Forward Air Controller Air Conditioning. And if I lose my air conditioning, the shit has hit the fan. Right. So I said, yeah, I get it that we have easy and I'm going to go sleep in a bunk bed tonight in a safe place. But while we're in the airspace, we had to do what we had to do. And we got it. The guy on the ground was the mission. We were just there to support.
Yeah,
absolutely. And there's a lot behind that shows the support. It kind of starts with the maintainers putting that airplane up, and from there you guys take it over and then go support people on the ground. And it's quite an experience to see everyone collectively work together. And it's not about branch. It's not about It's about our country, supporting each other in every branch of service in every fashion. And like you said, including bringing the Brits in on it and everything.
Mm-hmm.